Do I have 60 seconds? Okay. Ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schmidt List Live. Okay, so today I'm really excited because I have Laura King with me from Core Talent, and we're going to be taking all of your questions about how to work with recruiters, what Core Talent's all about, and of course my long history with Laura and I being friends. We'll discuss all of those things in just a few minutes. First, I want to thank everyone who's new subscribing, who's been just joining us. I'm really excited to have everybody here. So we're going to get jumping right in here in a second. And just as a reminder, if you don't know who I am, my name's Kurt Schmidt. I'm the president at Foundry, where we do custom software design and development. And by the way, we are also currently hiring. So if you're interested in development positions or PM positions, you can check us out at FoundryMakes/careers. Okay, so up with me now is Laura King. She is the king of recruiting. That's why that's what we call her. Hi, Laura. How are you?
I can be the queen, right?
You're the queen of all the kings, or king of the queens. Oh, wait, that's a TV show. It's a different thing. So, Laura, tell me about Core Talent and what you do there.
So I am. First of all, thank you for having me. And I mean, you're just launching this program, and I get to be one of the first guests. Right?
Yep, here you
are. Core Talent, we specialize in working with small business and a lot of entrepreneurial organizations. Many are here in the Twin Cities, but as even before COVID hit, we started taking more and more clients outside the Twin Cities. And it's about getting the people part right. And our core areas are sales roles, marketing roles, operations, and HR and finance are kind of tied for the next spot.
That's cool. And so how long have you been doing recruiting, Laura? I think you and I met, like 12 years ago, 15 years ago? It's been a long time.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, I found Kurt Schmidt's resume circa 20...
It's 2005 or 2009, something like that.
Yeah. So I have been in the recruiting field since age 23, and I'm now 37, so do the math.
Yeah.
And fell into it like most people do. I came up to the Twin Cities to work for Target and quickly
as most people do.
Being a business analyst wasn't the best fit for my personality.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's not an easy role. So I wanted to talk to you specifically today about, how to work with recruiters. So, I do so much job coaching that I have people that are constantly asking me questions about recruiters. And so I really wanted to have you on, Laura, to help me dispel some of the myths and the rumors and the best practices, right? Because, I mean, if I was new kind of to the job market or new working with recruiters, I assume I just kind of hand you my resume and then you let me know when there's a job available. Isn't that how it works, Laura?
No. We are trying to assess if you are the top 10% of talent in how you reach out to us.
Okay.
So if you reach out to us without doing any sort of Googling, reading our website, reading our LinkedIn profile, anything that shows that you did more than just look up an email address
off
your resume, I get about 200 of those a week.
Really?
I'm not going to respond.
And so it's just, is it like you said, just, it's people just kind of, hey, you're a recruiter, you find jobs. So they're kind of treating you like an Indeed or a Monster, but like a live person. So,
Yeah.
so what is the different, what should I know about the difference between working with a recruiter or just like posting my stuff to these job sites and these different things? What's the big difference I should know as a person looking for work?
A client hires us, pays us money to find them talent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they have a very specific need that they're hiring us for. Therefore, we are the brand ambassador on behalf of that company.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say there's a difference between working with a search firm recruiter and an internal recruiter. So if you're reaching out to a recruiter who works at Best Buy, obviously they're recruiting for Best Buy.
Right.
But someone like myself, at any given time, we're representing, several different companies
Mm-hmm.
and several types of positions. So it pays to do some research before you before you reach out on our website to understand, okay, what kind of a search firm is this? Specifically, if you're reaching out to a firm,
Yeah.
because I'll tell you more about, are we retained? Are we contingent? So that's a difference too between
Okay.
how you might engage with a contingent recruiter and a retained.
I see. So it goes way deeper than just like I'm a job finder person, because there's recruiters inside of organizations, and then there's independent organizations like yourself. So what's the difference between how you work versus how maybe an internal recruiter? So let's say I'm a UX designer and I'm getting message from people at Best Buy, just like you mentioned, saying, "Hey, are you interested in a job?" versus a independent recruiter reaching out. What's the pros, cons? What should I know as a potential recruit, as it were, between those two different sorts of engagements?
So typically internal recruiters are going to have 25 to 50 open roles that they're working on at any given time.
Okay.
They have a lot of jobs. We have maybe 5 or 6 per person. Okay. So the difference from a job seeker standpoint is also knowing that the recruiter working for Best Buy is probably not going to know, and I say this
Sure.
again, generalization, they don't know as much about the job.
Okay.
Because they have, they might be working a product role and
Right.
a business development, lots of different roles. And so they might only do a 20-minute intake with that hiring manager. Whereas a search firm, we're spending like a half a day with our clients
Mm-hmm.
to really understand not just the job, but the company, the culture, I get to meet people, because that fit equation is just as important. So I would strongly recommend that before you reach out to a recruiter, you get someone else in the company to refer you.
Okay. I see.
Because if I'm getting an email from someone else saying, you got to check this person out, if I go to my system and all the applicant tracking systems have different ratings. So you might get a 95% based off of your keywords. You might get a 75%. And sometimes recruiters, this is like the black hole that people don't know about, or they know about, but they're like, why?
Yep.
It's because you're given a percentage, and a recruiter, if they get 300 applications and they have 50 jobs on their plate, are they really going to look through all those resumes?
Right.
But are they going to pull out the resume that they get an internal referral on? You bet they are.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So one thing you brought up there is keywords, and something I coach people on a lot is having multiple versions of your resumes. One specifically that is keyword rich, that works well for those services and those types of things where they're going through those ATS or those applicant tracking systems and those things to get picked up and get through the scanners. And then there's kind of the small to medium sized businesses where you're kind of or to your point, a referral where you're actually like giving it to somebody, a human, a hiring manager.
Right.
So what's your best practices in kind of keywords versus showing who you are as a person and the impact versus overloading in keywords? Like where do you kind of stand on what's best practices from your experience, Laura?
Spend less time on the resume, spend more time reaching out and building those relationships that are going to get you the referrals and being an authentic human. I would much rather personally read what you do outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
Because many CEOs that I talk to, it's any executive team. It's about what I want to hang out with this person.
Right. I want them on my team.
Yeah. And everyone has different sort of tests that they go through to pass the, if we got stuck in an elevator with this person, right? I'm not sure how much that's going to happen nowadays.
No, sure, not these days. Well, but speaking of these days, do you find, because you've been doing recruiting so long, with your experience, I feel like there's much more of a focus on that culture fit in the last 5 years than there was 10 years ago. Do you find that to be the same?
Absolutely. And we specifically, part of the core talent process, we have an actual assessment that our clients get to use, and this is something that comes with our package. It's not an extra fee like other firms sometimes do, mm-hmm. but one of the key components is they get to create a benchmark of what does it mean to work in this company, and then they have the candidates, once they're a certain spot in the interview process, take this assessment, and we can see very clearly, there's a couple of different components that we need to dive into further.
Sure.
And so it is paramount. I mean, and now so more than ever, because I think it goes on both sides. We're showing up to work in a different way, and if I'm going to spend time, I better enjoy the people I'm doing it with.
Yeah. Right. Well, it makes a lot of sense. So, and speaking of that, the kind of liking the people you're working with, obviously these days it's hard to go and meet somebody for coffee or have a casual conversation, meet up or those types of things. What have you seen different in the interview process in the last 3 months versus the last 3 years? Like, how is it working? Is the virtual interviews working well for you? Are you feeling people struggling, or are people adapting very quickly? How are you feeling, or what are you seeing out there?
There's a continuum, and the folks that have been used to getting on camera before are doing great. Mm-hmm. And others, it's just taking some more practice. But if I had to make a generalization, it's making the process go faster, and people are loving it because they're not having to take, a whole half day off of work to go drive across town
Sure.
and go in, and then drive back, and I don't know if my boss is gonna. This is speeding up time to hire, and there's a lot of great services out there now that you can use to get better on camera.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe you'll need to share some of those with me, Laura.
I've got some resources, so anyone can hit me up. I've got a ton of resources.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Share them with me. I'll post them in the show notes later. I think that's a really important thing you said, because it's one thing that I've been doing some job coaching recently, and it's something I've been telling people, which is this sort of 9-week hiring cycle is sort of gone by the wayside. Like it used to be, all right, let's spend a couple of weeks writing a job resume. Let's post it for a couple of weeks, get some applicants, wait a couple of weeks to schedule the first interview, mull those about. You know what I'm saying? Like those things seem to be very different these days. Are you finding that cycle? It sounds like you're finding that cycle very different in the last few months.
And there's a couple different scenarios. We certainly have clients that want to wait 30 days, and we're doing our job in those 30 days to reach out to, it might be 300 people, to then narrow it down to the top 5 3 they see. That's what we get paid to do, is go out to the marketplace, take a huge pool of people, and give them the people that they hopefully they have a really hard time. They want to hire everyone.
Sure.
So in that regard, then after those 30 days, we have a buttoned up process to know this is who they talk to first. This is who they talk to second. This is the last interview or the final interview. And then we are at offer stage.
Yep.
Able to manage their expectations. The worst thing is if you're trying to get top talent and they, let's say they're interviewing with 3 or 5 other firms. Well, they might be gone by the time you're coming back to them.
Okay.
So it's really key. And that's, another thing that we do as recruiters is we're kind of getting a sense of, okay, how does this opportunity kind of rank in relation to these other ones that you're working on?
Okay.
You're talking to. So I have been able to coach clients to speed up when they need to speed up. Similarly, if it's a passive candidate who really needs to take some time, and it's a really, these are big decisions, then we need to slow down the process, because I kind of relate a lot of this to dating. If you're a company and you come on
super strong,
it's kind of a turn off. Candidates, don't come on too strong. Play a little hard to get.
That's good. That's good advice. Well, how do I know? I mean, maybe I'm very desperate. I've been out of work for months, Laura. What are some of those mental exercises I should be doing to kind of learn to back off a little bit? Because again, people are in this weird space, and I've talked to a number of recruiters about this just over the last few months, which is, people who are looking to make a move over the last, they were kind of thinking, all right, at the beginning of 2020, first quarter, I'm going to look to make a move. I mean, I've even job coached people that were like, yep, in February, I decided to take a leave of absence for a while to kind of refigure out what I'm doing, and now the whole world blew up. So, what's your advice for those people that are, they're really trying to get back into the job market quickly? Is it just hit everybody up? Is it back to what you were saying about the networking? What have you found working for folks?
Well, there's another resource that came to mind that I'm going to have us include in the notes, because it's a friend of mine that lives in New York City, and he's got an extreme, a whole plan of how to go about your job search, and it's like a step-by-step guide that I recommend to everyone. But to give you some of the kind of the quick hits, I tell people to do some free consulting. Get working. Get your mind off of your job search, 24 hours a day, because it's just this slippery slope that you go down, and you get into sometimes a terrible headspace. And so if you can go out, and I tell my marketers, find a local organization, find a nonprofit that you can just volunteer. You're going to realize the amazing gifts that you have, and that will boost your own confidence. And who knows, they might want to even hire you.
Sure, and it'll just add to your portfolio, as it were, right? As you're not working.
And that way you don't have that gap in your resume, like that you've been out of work since February. You can now put all the consulting projects.
Sure. Well, but Laura, I've been told forever, like, don't do work for free. Don't work for free. People won't take you seriously. And, how am I supposed to, I'm dragging down my profession, Laura, if I'm doing free work. What do you say to those folks?
I challenge them on that.
You challenge them?
It's all about positioning. And if you go into a conversation saying, this is typically what I would charge, but here's what I want to do for you. And once this, first sort of 3-month engagement is complete, I'd love to, revisit this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I want to help.
You want to set good expectations.
But, it's so corny, but the secret to living is giving. So the more you give, the more you will receive.
Yeah. And then live, laugh, love, right?
I'm a big quote person and personal development, as you can tell. That's
I get it.
Getting into a positive mindset is the key. However you can get into that positive mindset, because we can smell desperation a mile away.
Yeah.
And then you're not in that top 10%.
Mm-hmm. Right, because like you said, you want to be that person that's, kind of that recruiter's constantly going back to, even, right? Like becoming that kind of star player on the team that you're constantly, trying to find opportunities for, because this is an easy fit, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So let's talk about. So let's say I do want to, I see a recruiter post a job. I think I'm a good fit. I send in my stuff. What's the process? What's the black box on Laura's side? Tell me about kind of what happens on the other side. Once I am, maybe you're looking at me and maybe I am, or I could be in that top 10%. What's happening behind the scenes? What should I be aware of? So I know not to constantly pester you or not to disappear either. What's kind of that, what's happening behind the scenes, Laura?
What's happening behind the scenes is we're doing a balancing act of reviewing the resumes that are coming in through the posting, as well as doing proactive outreach.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be doing our job if all we were doing is just reviewing resumes
and waiting for people to show up.
We have to go out to the marketplace and find passive talent that's not looking. So if I'm kind of going back to the Best Buy example.
Yeah.
If I see a great opportunity, I might wait to apply online until I can have a conversation with someone who works there and who can give me the inside scoop. Okay? Eventually, they will say you have to apply, but you might find out a couple of tidbits of information that the rest of the general public doesn't know about.
I see.
So it pays to spend a little bit more time to do a little bit of digging, and people want to help people out, but it's all about your approach, and realize that you might send someone an email and they're busy, and it's okay if it takes them 3 to 5 days to get back to you. What my secret is after 5 days, you go into your sent file, you re-forward your original, and just say, Kurt, just wanted to make sure you received. Looking forward to your response, Laura.
Yep.
And you continue to do that every, maybe once a week.
Sure. Okay. So then, I love that you said, because it really sounds like that job posting is just the tip of the iceberg for everything else that needs.
You don't even know what's going on. They might even be looking at internal candidates.
Right. And they have to post it, right?
And you might be sitting waiting like, oh my gosh, why aren't they calling me? Try to find out the information. Yeah. Use resources.
Yeah. So let me translate in my mind kind of what you're saying. So let's say I'm a developer or a project manager or something, and I'm interested in this position. So maybe connecting with people who are in maybe the same role within an organization on LinkedIn, asking them, hey, I saw this job posting. I'm really interested in it. I noticed this, and this about it, which I think I'm a good fit for. Is there anything else I should know before I apply? Is that what kind of you're saying? Like do that sort of research?
Before you go there,
Okay.
make it about them, especially if it's a cold outreach.
Yes.
Make it about them, because it's gonna give that person that feel good, like, wow, this person wants to know what I think about working at this company. This person wants to know, just a couple. And here's what I'm also going to do after this call. I'm going to send you a couple like templates that people can use.
Great, thank you.
Make it quick and simple, and make it all about the other person. Get them to engage, and then you can share more about you. Do not lead with you. Lead with them.
That's great advice. Yeah. Again, people are busy, and the last thing I want to be thinking about is, especially in today's world when there's so many layoffs and all these different things happening. I mean, even though we're hiring, like I still feel like people are even more nervous these days just about their current situation, regardless how huge or small their company is. Are you finding that, because you had mentioned, trying to recruit people who are currently in positions, are you finding it even more difficult to pull people out of organizations in the last few months, or at least start those conversations? Or is it about the same or different?
I actually think it's easier.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
People are willing to have a proactive dialogue. And what's also very telling over the last several months, people have seen their organization's true colors.
Ooh.
And some feel like their companies and their manager have taken care of them, and other people have not.
That's really interesting.
It's really telling because, we're human beings, and we've gone through so many emotions that, I'm there. Unfortunately, there's a lack of leadership in this time. And when I find someone who has a great leader, it's wonderful, because you can tell how happy they are. And I say, oh my gosh, I'm like, you stay where you're at. But I've other people who, are again, proactively reaching out saying, hey, I thought I was going to be at this company for a while, and there's some things that have happened, and I'm ready to consider other things.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting perspective. I haven't really thought about that, but you're absolutely right, Laura. There is, and there has been, like you said, there's been this great upheaval, and now a lot of people are sort of questioning where they're at. And what I'm hearing you say is that even though I might be a little nervous because this is an uncertain time to like necessarily go out job hunting, because I can't interview. I can't do like what you said. I can't pretend to go to a 2-hour lunch and have that interview and do all those things. But if it's becoming almost a moral issue for people to stay within where they're at, and they're seeing what their future looks like, because if this is what people do when things are bad, right? What's going to happen to me in my future, right? So I think that's really interesting that you're seeing more people question that perspective.
It is. And it's sad.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. You would expect it better.
I want to help more people find great companies and great leaders to work with and work for. And so if there's one thing I'm really charged about, and I know you've had so many great conversations with leaders the past 3 years on your podcast about leadership.
Yep.
Leadership and management are not the same thing.
No, it's two very different things. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon here, Laura. And, I've learned so much. So thank you for joining me. If people have questions, go ahead and post them in the comments. I'll try to get to them before we exit today. But so, Laura, if speaking about that leadership and that career growth sort of thing, if I'm somebody who's looking for my next role and I want to move up, right? I want to move into management, leadership, a senior position, XXXXX. You as a recruiter, when you're when you're out looking for people, my understanding is that you're not necessarily looking to take a senior and put them in a senior role. Like, you're also looking at trajectory. You're also looking at somebody you can put in a role that is going to be a great fit for that. What are some of those telltale signs that happen for you when you're like, oh, yep, even though this position says it's for a senior, a director, whatever, this person is ready for that role. I can see it pretty clearly. Or is it in discussions like, how do you make that call? Or are you constantly just being like, I need to put you got to be a senior before you can be a senior at this place?
No. In fact, I mean, so many times I'm having these proactive conversations with clients to say, in order to widen our candidate pool, I mean, because if they're looking for a purple squirrel, it's going to take forever.
Yeah.
And let's open up to people who might be maybe a little bit more on the junior side, but have the horsepower and to invest in their training and development. But the telltale signs for me are some things that you talked about yesterday on the show. You want to see someone who's just taking these projects on, not because anyone told them to, but because they saw an opportunity and grabbed it. And thought, gosh, you know what? I think I can make a difference over here, and I'm going to bring a couple of my colleagues with me, and we're going to go figure out how to solve this problem. And I'll loop my boss in, and it might turn into something even bigger than you expected. But they are not necessarily sitting in that manager level role today.
They're taking initiative.
And I like to see too of I think there's a lot of great lessons you can learn from sports. And so that's always a trigger for me too of what do they do in high school and college?
Sure. Sure.
Those types of opportunities.
Yeah. So it's not even just in the current opportunity. It's kind of, you could kind of see that story across their career of taking leadership, taking initiative, those sorts of things, right? Because you might be this kind of developer, but like you said, you could be the captain of your Frisbee golf team or something, which could, right? It could lend to that story.
Exactly. And there sometimes there's patterns that I can see in people that they can't see in themselves. Really fun to then reflect back that pattern to them. And they're like, oh, that's why I do this. Or, it's fun having those sort of breakthrough aha moments with people.
Well, I think that's one of the values of working with a recruiter as a candidate is that you've got kind of this coach along with you as you're going through this process with people. And I know, some people, might be like, well, why should I go to recruit? I could just go straight to the organization or different things. But it's like all the things you're saying, Laura, it sounds like what you're doing is not only helping the organization get the right fit, but helping make sure that individual is making the right choices and presenting themselves in the right way in order to do better in the negotiations point, right? All those things.
We're like their guide, but there's a line, right? We don't want to coach too much. Still want their authentic self to come through in these interviews without overcoaching.
Sure. Well, yeah, because I mean, again, I could be, well, how much should I ask for, Laura?
But let me be clear. I mean, one person could technically have relationships with dozens of recruiters because we all work with different clients.
Right.
So it's like, I get really impressed with someone who asks me, okay, tell me about your clients. Tell me about, typically what kind of person that you place. I mean, ask those questions right off the get-go.
Okay.
Recruiters are really niche, so they only work with people who do product management in this specific discipline. And they might recruit nationwide versus some more boutique firms that have multiple disciplines and are just local.
Okay.
So it's just about, asking questions and doing your homework. Do your homework. Read someone's LinkedIn profile before you call them.
Yeah, take some time to look through there, right?
Right.
Yeah, to get to know them. Okay, so tell me if I'm interested in working with Core Talent or finding out the positions and things that you have there. Laura, kind of tell me what I need to know in order to work with you.
To work with me, I can be found on LinkedIn. I'm like there all the time. So ping me there, and you can check out our website at coretalent.com.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, Laura, you've always been not only a great friend, but I think an important member of the community in the Twin Cities in terms of the enthusiasm you bring to job hunting and the recruiting side of things, and then also just being a great advocate for folks. So I strongly suggest if you want a great advocate for you, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody better than Laura. So I definitely suggest, even if you're not currently looking, maybe just reach out and connect with Laura because she shares some great content on LinkedIn. So, Laura, I want to thank you for joining me again today, and I'm hoping to have you on many, many more times as the world changes and new things come to light. I would love to have your opinion on how things are going.
Kurt, I love that you're doing this. Like, when I found out that you were doing this, I was jumping like, yes.
I appreciate that.
I wish I had more time to do this and to show up for people and help people. And what the great thing about this is they can just binge watch the content when it works for them.
Exactly.
And I think, this is, you can go one to many versus, I know you'd love to do one to one.
I do.
The point where, when you say you ask you're getting the same questions asked over and over and over again.
Right.
Like, record myself.
Yep. Well, that's what I said, Laura. Like, having professionals and number one, experienced professionals like yourself on who know the game, who know how to make things work, picking your brain. There's so many people that I talk to right now that are very, very frustrated, scared, a myriad of emotions of what's going on in the world because they're either out of work or they're searching for jobs. So having folks like yourself kind of giving a glimpse behind the scenes and best practices, I think really can help alleviate some people's anxiety and fears about how to work with recruiters. Because again, it's much like resumes. I see people that, kind of their uncle taught them how to do a resume and they just think that that's the way it is. Like I literally, the other day I was having another argument about why it's okay to have a resume longer than one page.
Oh, absolutely. How I want to see numbers. I want to see metrics. I want to see how you had an impact on the organization.
Yeah.
So everything that you said yesterday rings true.
Oh, I appreciate that, Laura. Okay, so I'm going to let you go because I know you're busy and you've got recruiting to do. So thank you again for joining me. And I'm going to